The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing Icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business. From $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters in Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
Welcome to the Icons of Real Estate. I'm Tim Calloway. We have a very special guest for you today from the state of Washington, Jeff Smart with HomeSmart Elite Brokers, Kennewick, which is on the eastern side of the state of Washington. How are you, Jeff?
I'm doing great today.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks for coming on. Really looking forward to hearing about the state of Washington outside of the town of Seattle. So first and foremost, it's kind of what I always ask. Were you like a 5-year-old young man tugging at your parents' pant leg saying, "Hey, I can't wait to be a realtor. How do I do it, mommy?" Or or did you fall into it like most of us did?
Well, it was, some people search for greatness, others have it thrust upon them. And so I think real estate was thrust upon me. I'm a second generation realtor.
Oh,
And I remember vividly when I was 10 years old, which was about 100 years ago. When I was 10 years old, I was visiting one of my dad's brokerages. He had a multi-branch independent brokerage. And we're visiting with one of the managing brokers there. And he says to me, as I'm 10 years old, he says, "Are you going to take over the business when you get older?" And I said, "Oh, heck no. No, I'm never going into real estate."
wow.
Fast forward, yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, there you are. Yeah, that's just so funny. I'm a father of 4 sons, and I've many a times, "Hey, are you gonna, you want to get in and come work with?" No. "Hey, you want to?" No. And I had one of them do it, and it lasted all of 6 weeks, I think. And
Oh,
it
yeah.
just literally, he was like, "Nah, me and my buddy are gonna go start this online deal," and I was like, "Yeah, okay, all right, fantastic."
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally get it. So you're what I call what do I call a legacy in real estate? Has it always been in your area of the state, or in Kennewick, or?
Yeah, well, with my dad's brokerage and currently, yeah, it's all been Eastern Washington, but I did work for a while in the Seattle market for a few years selling real estate, and decided that there was the gray skies and the rain got a little bit to me. So I came back to the sunny side of the state, which is where I'm at now, and never looked back.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, it's interesting how the geography of where you work can make such a difference. I've made a couple of moves, and this isn't about me, of course, but I do know I've worked in areas that I've been like, wow, I've got to get out of here. And it's just for whatever reason, I mean, for you, it might have been the weather or whatever it was. For me, it was too far away from this or family. And that does affect the psyche, it affects the psyche quite a bit.
Yeah, you got to be happy where you're at. You got
Yeah.
to be having fun. You got to be enjoying life wherever you have home at. And for me, being in this area in Eastern Washington is where I grew up.
Yeah.
So I still know everybody here. My name is fairly well known in this area. And so I'm just more comfortable here. And, the typical door-to-door kind of sales or the cold calls are not so cold because most people I talk to, I already know.
Yeah, that's nice. Well, that does beg the question. How do you build your business there? There's been a lot of changes. You and I were kind of talking pre-show about not even knowing about podcasts 10 years ago. Obviously, a lot's changed in the digital arena, not only for realtors, but for everybody. But for realtors that have always been a boots on the ground, you coming from, being second generation in real estate, as opposed to a lot of my, I'd say my son's friends who get into real estate that watch HGTV and think that, if I just buy a fast car and drive around West Palm Beach and wave at people, I'll sell $10 million homes. And yeah, that's the way it works. But What changes maybe have you made, or maybe anyone in your organization have had to make over the years, kind of going in that direction on the digital side?
Well, it's been interesting. I've been selling real estate full time for about 25 years now. And so it precedes social media. So back in the day, and I think we're getting kind of back to this now from what I'm seeing. It was all about interactions, all about networking, doing open houses, going to networking groups, going to lunches with people, meeting with lenders, meeting with other realtors, getting the word out that way. And that's how you became known.
Right.
And then social media comes along and you put a pretty picture up there and you become an Instagram model. Thank God this is a podcast and not a video cast, because I have a face for radio.
Right.
But with social media, you could appear larger than you were, which
Yeah.
is great because that attracts a certain amount of business just based on what you put out there. It's still a big influencer, the social media aspect, but I don't think it's everything. I think we need to re-diversify our efforts again in more face-to-face networking, which is kind of what it was old school. So I think what old is new again.
Right. Yeah, I feel like, it's interesting that, and I hate doing this because I hear it from my sons all the time, but, quit comparing us to you, our generation to your
Oh, yeah.
generation. And I'm like, well, yeah, I can do that because I've lived in both cycles and you have not. One, two, I've worked in both cycles. You have not. Two, and three, the industry itself really hasn't changed. It's still a relationship business. I mean, at the end of the day, my phone has never rang and someone said, "Hi, my name is John Smith. Please list my house. And by the way, I want to buy a $50 million house across the street. Can you handle the transaction tomorrow?" It doesn't work that way, right? And so, there are things in place, mechanisms internally with humans, with people, that should make that happen. I don't think anybody should see a picture of someone online. And I love social media. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a quick and nice, easy way to, touch base with people. But if you made a decision to let me list your home, whether you're at, whether where I'm at, it doesn't matter if it's 10 million, 1 million, 100,000, based on what I write online and the picture that I put up is
Right.
ridiculous, right?
Right. Because we can all appear to
Sure.
be something different online.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's easy to put up some numbers and say I'm great. I don't think people think that anyway, but it is a nice jumping board, diving board, I guess, to having that introduction. And I think, once again, though, I'll say HDTV definitely lies to everyone.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah. When you have people that one of the first things out of their mouth is, I was watching this show on HGTV. You almost want to run for the hills. It's like, hey,
yeah,
we're out of here.
yeah,
It has influenced the market in a negative way.
right.
Most markets. I can't say every market's been influenced this way by the HGTV shows. There's been a false understanding of what a realtor does based on these TV shows.
Got my skin crawling, Jeff.
Oh yeah, it's rough. It's rough living up to the expectations that the producers of HGTV shows make.
I call it the WWE of real estate.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, so diving from that platform onto another, let's get it back to talking about your business. So we know how you started. Tell me, are you a solopreneur? Do you have a team, or how does that look? How does the internal look for you?
I took over my dad's brokerage when he passed. And so it was an independent brokerage that had been around since 1968. And so I took that over in 2006. A couple years ago, well, 3 years ago now, in 2020, when that whole COVID thing was happening. I don't know if you heard about it.
We have that down here in Florida.
Yeah, no. And so when that was happening, I figured, international pandemic is happening. What should I do? Well, I'll open another brokerage. And so why not? Why not? So I opened a franchise of HomeSmart, which is based out of Arizona.
Mhm.
And so I bought the franchise rights to all of Eastern Washington for HomeSmart. And so I opened up HomeSmart Elite Brokers in Eastern Washington here. And since then, I've grown it to 5 different offices around this section of the state, this half of the state. And I've got about 100 agents working for me now. I still do my own sales as well as the designated broker position. So it's been good. It's been really good and keeping me busy and keeping me
Yeah,
off the streets.
yeah, for sure. Or maybe actually on the streets more in a different way.
Yeah. Well, I always thought that I would stop the growth of a brokerage when it got to a certain level because I still like selling, or I would have to stop selling and be that broker that sat behind the desk.
Right.
And which I didn't really want to do, but I figured I'd get to that point sometime. And so when I had 10, 12, 15, 20 agents, I thought, okay, well, I'm still okay. I can still go out and sell because I like doing that. 25, 30, 45 agents. Well, everything's still working fine. I've made some good hires, so I don't need to sit behind the desk. 70, 80, 90 agents, it's still working fine. At 100 agents, still working fine. I don't need to give up selling because I still do between 50 and 60 transactions myself per year.
That's pretty good. Yeah, 50, 60 transactions solo
Yeah.
and running a business. I mean, that's I think there's a lot to be said for that, for sure. For sure.
So it's been good.
Awesome. You sound like an individual that, kind of talking about using old school. I use old school as the term, 25 years ago, whatever it might be. So it was always plan your attack your plan. It was like always have a plan in place. And it sounds like you're that type of person. I say that, Jeff, because, basically during the pandemic, you went and said, I'm going to expand as opposed to, hiding in my home. So what's the next 1, 3, and 5 years? What does that look like for you? You have the rights to Eastern Washington. What other rights are you thinking about grabbing up, maybe?
Well, I don't want to give away too much on this because someone
I
might be
wanna
listening
hear it first.
and they might grab some of the areas I'm looking at.
Hey,
But there's still expansion. I'm over 1 to 3. We're going to be bolstering the offices I've got around the state.
okay,
A lot of recruiting efforts are going well because HomeSmart is 100% commission brokerage. So I keep a very small transaction fee and the agents get
right,
the rest of it because they've worked hard for their money. They get to keep it.
sure,
So we'll be doing a lot of recruiting, adding more people to those branches and building them up. 5 years, boy, anything can change in the next 5 years, but I could see adding a few more offices at that point, maybe going international. Who knows?
wow. Well,
Yeah,
that's exciting, and I won't ask you anything else about it because you got to keep a couple of aces up the sleeve.
have to because you never know. There's HomeSmart's in 49 of the 50 states currently and is working into some international areas. It's been called HomeSmart International for a long time, and they're finally getting international. So it'll be good.
Make their way.
They got to follow the name that they set.
Right. Hey, we're international. Let's do that.
Yeah, we've got this name, so we might as well do something about it. But 5 years, I've got to groom somebody to take over for me at some point. My dad died before he could retire.
Yeah.
And he was talking about retirement and then he got sick, but I don't want that to happen. I want to enjoy some travel, enjoy some life and have some fun while I'm still able to move around and get around.
Yeah, I think you and I are similar in age, and I guess my thought process is, could I continue? Because when I get back from traveling, I'm going to get bored pretty quick. I think that's how our minds work, right? I mean,
very true.
Yeah, and I'm hoping, wow, this sounds like the biggest mistake ever, that I could do both, right?
Right,
That I
exactly.
could do both. That's I think that's where I'd like to be. And I didn't mean to cut you off. It was just like,
No,
he's in
no,
tune.
I think retirement for me would look like something where I would defray my sales to somebody that would take over my sales for me. I could still run the brokerage and I could run that from any place. If COVID taught us one thing is that we can work any place and manage from any place.
Yeah.
To a point. Right. Sales and real estate is definitely mostly a face-to-face relationship building.
For sure. Yeah, just people aren't going to be, I just, I don't think we'll ever see what we saw over the past 2.5 years. And because of where we were at, we had to do a lot of that. And I think once we say we don't have to do that, and that's why, you know, we do need to be back to doing some boots on the ground, palm pressing, and going to my BNI meeting every week, you know, or whatever it might be, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah. A lot
Yeah.
of things that the 30 below crowd knows nothing about, which is okay, because that's just more for me. Um,
You're right. Exactly.
so that sounds fantastic. So how would someone get in touch with you? Either if they're in the area in Eastern Washington, or Jeff, maybe they're looking to make a move from the Seattle area or somewhere else. How would they find you? How would they get in touch with you?
The best place they can look to find everything about me is jeffsmarthomes.com.
Okay.
Simple,
Fantastic.
simple, simple.
Do you find that's where most people come from? And when I say that, you know, I talk to most people, they go, well, most of them are referrals and it's within the city that I'm in. Or do you find you get you know, what's the percentage, what's the breakdown of people from, say, Seattle, Portland, or even California, maybe, that are looking to kind of move out east in your?
We've got a fairly high percentage of those areas coming to Eastern Washington because, you know, there's less rain, more sun, lots of golf courses, lots of rivers to play on. Value is still affordable. So we're not talking, you know.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah. And one thing that's been interesting is we see, and I've nicknamed it the Goldilocks Trail, because we have a lot of people that come here from Seattle, but they don't come directly from Seattle. So they leave Seattle, they go to an area on the peninsula a little further west, thinking they're going to escape some rain, and still find out that there's rain there. And then
Right.
they'll leave the rain because the rain isn't what they want. So they'll go to Arizona, and Arizona's wonderful. I love Arizona. I go there all the time, but they find that Arizona, Phoenix is too hot.
It's hot.
So Goldilocks can't handle the heat.
Right.
So then Goldilocks looks at an area in Central Oregon called Bend, Oregon, Bend and Redmond, which is another beautiful area in the Northwest. Gorgeous. It's a little higher in elevation. It gets pretty cold.
Chilly there. Yeah.
We get a lot of snow. So Goldilocks doesn't like the snow. And so we do a lot of advertising down in that area, and then they come up to see us. Right. And then they settle here. Goldilocks finds the porridge at the right temperature here in Eastern Washington.
I like that whole, I'll call it a scheme in a nice way, not a negative way, but I like the schematic, you know, where the word actually comes from, of how you derive from that. I think.
Well, I believe that part of a realtor's job is to educate the public.
Yeah.
And you have to find them where they're at in order to educate them, not just about the transaction of real estate, but about communities in which they should live.
Very smart. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, we're getting around to that time, Jeff, where we're kind of winding it down. I always say I'm the DJ and you're the hit record, and you know, I'm just playing the records. But you know, take the last minute or so and kind of share with us whatever's on your mind, your heart, your soul, about either business, life, family, East Washington, whatever you like. Just take us out and give us some good thoughts.
My favorite way to finish conversations or presentations is to talk about something my dad taught me a long time ago. And that is because everybody wants to be successful. So you get all these questions about how do I become successful? And successful in anything, especially real estate, is value. If you can provide a value to someone, something, you will be seen as successful. That's how you become successful, that is to provide value or to be valuable to somebody. So in real estate, I try and be everything I can be with my people that buy houses. They come back to me looking for contractors to do this or that. I have all those contractors that I can give them names. So that's a value to them. To my sellers, it's the same way. And to my agents that work for me, I try and be very valuable by being accessible and have the answers that they need at a moment's notice.
Fantastic. No, that's great sage advice. I love it, Jeff. Jeff Smart, HomeSmart Elite Brokers. Thank you so much for being on the program. I'd love to catch up with you in the next 3 to 6, 9 months, see how things are going. Now you've got me kind of itching to come out and visit, not necessarily just you, but others that I've met. There's so many parts of the state of Washington, Oregon. I've seen all of California. I used to live there, but those states that I think a lot of people have missed. And I love the whole, I got to tell you, I'm always looking for things to put on your thumbnail for your for your podcast. And now I think I'm gonna have to come up with something about Goldilocks. I'm just gonna have to do it.
Well, that's glad I could help with that little earworm in there. For you.
There you go, Jeff. Thanks so much for being on the program. Have a great week. Stay safe.
Thank you. You too.